Learn to run jobs in parallel and sequentially. Now, workflows must run sequentially. This lesson shows how to start we need sequential workflows. This lesson shows starting one after another. We'll build a fourth on the third. It runs after the third. Let's create it with hello. In this lesson, we'll learn how to set up a workflow so that a specific workflow only starts after the previous one is completed. We still have the third workflow from our previous lessons that we didn't disable, so we'll build the fourth one based on that. This means the fourth one will only run after the third one is completed. Let's create our fourth workflow. I'm not really interested in the commands. I'll just have one step that will input the word hello. I want to remind you that we create the names and IDs for the jobs ourselves. Now let's edit our trigger, which is the event that we want to use to start this workflow. We want to start this workflow upon the completion of a specific other workflow. In our current process, we are actively utilizing the functionality of workflow.run, which is a crucial component. This command will indicate that we are waiting for the completion of a certain workflow. And the next parameter is this workflow. So we specify which workflow or an array with multiple workflows. I'm passing the parameter workflows in this particular context. So here I lost a letter, and as I mentioned, I'm passing an array. In my case, it's one workflow, but it could be 2 or 3, however many you need, and in the array, pass them as IDs. We specify the name of the workflow, so I go into the third workflow, take its name, and that's what I pass to this parameter. And one more thing we need to pass is the status of the workflow, because the previous workflow has 2 statuses. Right now, I want to trigger it upon completion, so I'll use the status completed. But there's also the status in progress when it's currently running, just started, and there's the requested status as well. So here, I'm passing the text and specifying completed. Please notice that I have an error. The types should definitely be properly aligned with the workflow, very carefully indeed. At this point, we need to commit the changes we've made and carefully review them to ensure everything is executed correctly. This step is crucial, as it allows us to verify that our modifications are properly implemented. Once we have confirmed as we can see, our fourth workflow is starting. I'm still refreshing until I see another one, but so far, only the fourth one. This is the commit name, and only now, after the completion of this fourth workflow, it needed to be renamed differently. Mine has started. My current workflow that we just created. And to avoid confusion, let's take a look at what's inside them. So this one, which is the actual fourth, we have hello, which is what we wrote. And if we take a look at this fourth commit, inside it, you can see the copying of NuGet command files and actual files themselves, the list of files. Well, let's run it one more time so that the commit name will be included early. That will make it much clearer. And one more thing, guys. So right now this current workflow is waiting for the previous one to finish. If you need nesting, meaning further down, you can do 3 steps. So right now we have 1 step used. 2 workflows are used. In total, you will have only 4 workflows and 3 steps are allowed between them. So I can also create a 5th workflow and run it based on this 4th one. So the 3rd one will run first, then this 4th one will run, and only after that will the 5th one execute. And after this 5th one, if I need to, I can also create a 6th. Physically, if I write a workflow for the 7th one and so on, they will just be ignored. They won't trigger. Let's add some kind of symbol here so that we can commit it. And we'll run the workflow test here and commit these changes. Now there won't be any confusion with the names. I go into Actions and I see I have run workflow test. And it only has run first command, which is the previous one, the 3rd one. I go into Actions and there's still no 4th one. It's not triggering. And only after that, the fourth commit, or rather the fourth workflow, is triggered. Everything is great. Just in case, let's take a look at the new hello on our screen. Now, let's add a bit of logic to our workflow, because why settle for a simple sequence when we could check the success or failure of the previous workflow and do some manipulations in the current workflow based on that? It would be much more interesting. For this reason, we'll look at the following approach now. We will have two jobs in our fourth workflow. The first job will be run on success if the third workflow was successfully executed, and the second job will be run if the third workflow returned an error, i.e. was not executed. So let's change the success command here. It will run on success. We need to add an if parameter for it, and in this parameter we should return true or false. Look at what we're going to do now. I'm passing a variable to the if parameter, and in this variable, guys, I have the GitHub object, and this GitHub object contains what workflow.run returns. So I'm accessing the event. I'm referring to workflow.run. In workflow.run we have conclusion. But notice the documentation I've linked is already giving me hints. Here I'm selecting conclusion. And in this particular variable, it will store the word success. So I'm doing this check right here, and if I have success specifically stored here, then I'll execute these necessary steps and procedures. We'll also appropriately change the text in this section. And now we just need to create the additional second job, and then finally the second one will be on failure. So here we essentially have a parameter, meaning that if the previous workflow in essence returns a failure, this particular parameter will indeed contain such a specific value indeed. By the way, we can skip displaying the title here and just show the step like this. Looks good. Let's try testing it and see how it performs. We're starting now, and ideally we should have success because the previous workflow is written correctly and it should always run successfully. So while the previous workflow is running, only now is our current fourth one executing. Let's go into it. And as we can see, the success team has been executed, while the second team was not executed. It was skipped. And if we go into success, we essentially immediately and clearly see the word success. Okay, now let's simulate such a situation that this command is executed correctly in our system environment setup process, step by step methodically, which means we must make a mistake in our this. Let's just change some command somewhere else on purpose. That doesn't exist, and according to my calculations, it should give an error. Let's check it again. Commit. We go into the action. Now our third workflow is working. As we see, it gives us an error because the command is not executed. We look again at the actions. The third one with the error 4 will fill in and start. And we look in the fourth. Success is skipped, but started failed. And failed returns us to the screen failed. Here is such an interesting system that already adds a little logic to our workflow. We've already moved very close to events. So in the next batch of lessons, we'll be looking at other different triggers different filters for them. The exciting part is just beginning, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lessons.